Greetings, friends. My name is Anna Nichenko, and now we will dive in the top news of this day. Volodymyr Zelenskyy continues his tour in Europe. After visiting Italy, Germany, and France, the president went to Great Britain.
The UK is a leader when it comes to expanding our capabilities on the ground and in the air. This cooperation will continue today. I will meet my friend Rishi. We will conduct substantive negotiations face-to-face and in delegations. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, President of Ukraine, on Twitter.
Prime Minister of Great Britain, Rishi Sunak, said that the meeting with the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, is taking place as a crucial moment. This is the decisive moment in Ukraine's resistance to a terrible, aggressive war, which we didn't choose and didn't provoke. As the British Prime Minister said, we need the continued support of the international community to defend ourselves against the barrage of merciless and indiscriminate attacks that have been our daily reality for over a year. So you must not let down. According to The Guardian, Great Britain will provide Ukraine with hundreds of long-range drones over 200 kilometers. Their deliveries will be organized in the coming months. In addition, the Prime Minister confirmed the further delivery of hundreds of air defense missiles and additional unnamed aerial systems. Also, this summer, Great Britain will begin training Ukrainian pilots on F-16 fighter jets, the British government said in a statement. Currently, Great Britain is cooperating with other countries on the supply of these fighters to Ukraine. I will remind you, last week the British government announced that it is providing Kyiv with high-precision, long-range Storm Shadow cruise missiles. I don't know whether the Ukrainian military has already managed to use them or not, but the Russian Minister of Defense has already announced that their air defense destroyed the British missiles. Considering the fact that there have been a lot of explosions in Luhansk in recent days, I wouldn't be surprised if British missiles are destroyed by stationary warehouses and dormitories of the occupiers. According to the Financial Times, more than $1 billion worth of dual-use goods shipped in 2022 from the European Union to Armenia, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan got lost in transit through Russia. Thus, Moscow retained access to aircraft parts, optical equipment, and gas turbines. With such methods of circumventing sanctions, the 11th package of European Union sanctions, the draft of which has already been adopted. But even without these sanctions, Russia's economy is already cracking. For 4 months of 2023, the deficit has already exceeded the annual plan. This means that in order to meet the indicators that were approved by the Moscow government, they have until the end of the year to spend only what they could earn. And this will be difficult since the main source of income, gas, oil, and oil products have fallen significantly in price and are sold at huge discounts. But considering that the Kremlin is unlikely to stop financing the war, we will wait for the next steps of the government. Most likely, as always, social benefits will be cut.
The budget begins to rob the economy. We must not look at the budget deficit for the first 3 or 4 months of the year, but we must look at the cumulative total for the last 12 months. And then we see that the budget deficit for these 12 months is more than 7 trillion rubles. What does a deficit of 7 trillion mean? This means that they had to get this money from wherever, which means that they are already cleaning up some remnants of some stash they laid in different places. They take money from the money market. They decrease all possible resources. Apparently, these financial resources will be enough for this year, but if the SMO continues, then of course the Russian economy will get into a very serious trouble, and then it will be necessary to start the devaluation of the ruble. The situation is simple. Let's hold out until the end of the SMO, and then we'll figure out what's left. We'll deal with that, and if we don't hold out, others will figure it out.
Moreover, the Kremlin faced another problem. After the Russian invasion of Ukraine, civilized countries froze the assets of the foreign currency reserves of the Central Bank of the Russian Federation, about $300 billion. Along with the state assets of the Russian Federation, the private assets of the accomplice of the war are also being frozen. This happens after the adoption of international sanctions against citizens all legal entities that support the Kremlin and participate in the war in Ukraine. The exact amount of these assets is also unknown. European Union countries, USA, Canada, Australia, Japan do it independently. According to official data, the amount of frozen private assets in the world is about $100 billion. Ukraine also joins these actions. Our state property fund will begin the sale of confiscated Russian assets this year. The head of the fund said that the proceeds will be used to finance the rebuild of the country. As part of the economic response to the Russian invasion, Kyiv has imposed sanctions against Russia and opened court cases to confiscate assets belonging to the Russian state in Ukraine and businessmen close to the Kremlin. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has issued decrees imposing sanctions on hundreds of Russian citizens, including oligarchs whose assets are among the largest in Ukraine.
Russian business in some industries was a significant market player. Some say that they had a huge market share, but no one has estimated the exact value of these assets. Our goal is to take it all into state ownership, prepare it and sell it. We want these enterprises to work for the state of Ukraine, for the Ukrainian citizens. Rustem Umerov, the head of the State Property Fund, in an interview with Reuters.
Identifying all Russian assets in Ukraine is a long and complex process involving various government and law enforcement agencies. The fund wants to sell up to 102 assets this year, mostly real estate and cars. They can be transferred to the State Property Fund only after a court decision is made on the seized and nationalized assets. The family of Boris Obnosov, the head of the largest Russian defense holding Tactical Missiles, owns luxury real estate in the Czech Republic worth more than 8 million euros. This is stated in the investigation which was presented by the chairman of the board of directors of the International Anti-Corruption Foundation, Maria Pevchik. The choristers are beaten as the Czech government still lets these Zorikovs come here. The head of the family is the real war criminal. The Tactical Missiles Corporation is under sanctions. They are a participant in the war in Ukraine. And we are happy with such a gesture because it is preciously such people involved in corruption who reduced the power of the Russian army several times. It was huge corruption and embezzlement of money that caused interruptions in the supply of ammunition, which the head of the PMC, Wagner Prigozhin, is now talking about. It was corruption that forced the Russians to decontain T-55 tanks and to increase military budgets while reducing the efficiency of development, equipment and weapons. After all, Tactical Missiles Corporation is the largest Russian defense holding. According to Vladimir Putin, this is shield, a guarantee of security, a symbol of Russia's strength and might. But for Putin's officials, this is primarily hundreds of billions from the state budget, which they shamelessly plunder. This is what may explain the sociological phenomenon in Russia where the rich support the war, but the low-income do not. In most countries, it is the other way around. But here it is worth remembering the Russia proverb, which sounds like, to whom is war and to whom is mother dear. Therefore, there is no doubt that the right people are profiting there in the war against Ukraine. At the same time, all the money earned is then spent abroad and not at Russian resorts. After all, we have repeatedly said that Kremlin patriots and their children choose Western countries for life and recreation. That concludes today's video. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for future videos. Goodbye.